Well, it was that time of the week. Yes, it's that time we go out to the left coast of America and talk to our resident motion picture reviewer. Yes, it's Michael Snyder, ladies and gentlemen, and his Culture Blast report. Hello there, Michael.
Well, hi, Alex, and hi, everybody else. It's spring. Spring is with us, and we see summer blockbusters in the distance, but this weekend, it's a fairly slow one. Nothing jumping right out at you and grabbing you by the throat and saying, you must see me. But we do have a few films to review, so let's get to them. Free Fire was very entertaining and enjoyable for yours truly, but it was kind of in my wheelhouse. It is a rock'em sock'em crime thriller set in Boston in 1978. And it centers around a meeting in a deserted warehouse between a couple of gangs. And it, of course, turns into a shootout and people desperately trying to get out alive. And the two gangs are arms dealers and guys from the IRA from Ireland, from Northern Ireland, and they're seeking firepower for their struggle, such as it is. Anyway, this film is directed by the very cool British filmmaker Ben Wheatley. He's the guy who brought us Kill List, Sightseers, which is incredibly funny, and both are rather grisly. High Rise, which featured Tom Hiddleston, and has actually directed a couple of Doctor Who episodes. I love the guy's work. And it stars Sharlto Copley, the South African actor, Brie Larson, Armie Hammer, and even more entertainingly, you know him and you love him from Peaky Blinders, Cillian Murphy. So, what we're looking at is cool actors, a cool director, and an interesting bottle movie. As far as budget concerns, since it's set mostly in a rundown abandoned warehouse or factory space, it probably wasn't very expensive except for, I don't know, the cost of fake blood, maybe? So you've got these double dealers, arms merchants, IRA terrorists. You got a middleman played by Armie Hammer and a middle woman, if you will, played by Larson, and a few all-purpose thugs and goons, some of whom you'll recognize. They're the mentally challenged or drug abuser types that actually have deep-seated issues, and maybe that's, you know, a volatile mixture. It's a tinderbox that you know is going to explode sooner or later, and you're waiting for the first shot. Wheatley does not disappoint in that regard. There's a very Tarantino S quality, mordantly funny, unapologetically violent, and it doesn't seem as stagey and hokey as Quentin can get. Also, it's not as sort of operatic, I think, as Quentin Tarantino does, but for what it wants to do, it succeeds, and I thought it was fun and very energetic and very enjoyable, and yeah, dark and bloody and kind of nutty. But I would recommend for people who like this kind of thing, yeah, bring on the Free Fire because, you know, what could I say? Sometimes you just need to see things explode and people get shot. It's visceral. Okay, so it's a B movie and then a movie that has pretensions to be, I don't know what, a chick flick, a thriller, the kind of thing we would normally see Julia Roberts or Sandra Bullock in. Is a real embarrassment called Unforgettable. In Unforgettable, Rosario Dawson and Katherine Heigl play these rivals who face off against one another. It's a thriller essentially about an unhinged woman who sets out to make life hell for her ex-husband's soon-to-be new wife. Dawson portrays the victim, if you can call her that, a successful, well-compensated writer at a San Francisco.com dedicated to storytelling. Okay, well compensated for producing content online. Wow, this really is fiction. Anyway, so she relocates to L.A. to move in with her new boyfriend, a very bland fellow, by the way, and he has shared custody of his moppet of a daughter, and he has to share her with his picture-perfect, tightly wound former wife, of course, portrayed by Katherine Heigl. You know you're in trouble when the promo audience and the critics alike are snickering or just plain laughing out loud at what's supposed to be a serious or treacherous moment. If you're having a hard time keeping a straight face during a dramatic thriller when the heroine's life is in peril, and not because you're scared for her, you've got a crappy film on your hands, or maybe, I don't know, a potential midnight movie cult classic. But seriously, Unforgettable? Not likely. I mean, the title is completely ridiculous. I saw it a couple days ago, and I could barely remember anything about it except, it's hilarious suckage. And the title makes little sense in context. It sounds like something powerful and memorable is going to happen here, but it's gratuitous. And I don't know. With a title like that, I kept waiting for the Nat King Cole song or an amnesia storyline or anything other than a woman still freaked out about her abusive ex, and then decides that she's going to do this and that and the other. There's a restraining order thing in here because the Rosario Dawson character has a guy who was stalking her, who used to go out with her. Look, all I can tell you is it's a ridiculous movie that features Heigl playing what comes off as the Stepford divorcee or maybe suburban psycho. I mean, that would have worked better as a title. And this woman-centric film, believe it or not, the actor who plays the thinly drawn male lead is totally generic. This woman-centric film was written by a woman and directed by a woman. I mean, way to go, guys. This is as bad as anything comparable from any male filmmakers who were derided for failing to honestly depict women on screen. And if anybody thinks the cliches on display in Unforgettable are meant to be accurate or moving female characters, forget about it. Okay. Let's get to the third of our trifecta here, The Promise. And I was really disappointed by The Promise. This is a movie that stars Christian Bale, Oscar Isaac, and one of my favorite up-and-coming French actresses, Charlotte Le Bon, who was in The 100-Foot Journey and Marguerite. Plus, you got Jean Reno and James Cromwell in supporting roles, and it's a drama set during the last days of the Ottoman Empire in Turkey, for the most part, centering on a love triangle between a medical student, played by Bale, a sophisticated gal, played by Le Bon, and, the medical student is Oscar Isaac. And there's a journalist played by Christian Bale, and he's there. And I mean, these are talented people, and there's beautiful cinematography and like sweeping settings and good intentions. But it feels like a bloated and labored affair that runs on too long and fails to create any genuine sympathy for its poor, beleaguered protagonist, in this case, Isaac's medical student, or any of the other characters. It's ponderous, even though it wants to be a historical epic, and it means well in an attempt to kind of humanize the horrors of the Armenian genocide. That's basically what this movie wants to be about on some level, but it ends up almost trivializing it by focusing on the lovers and their travails. It's kind of a wannabe Dr. Zhivago, minus the Russian Revolution, minus the passion and the romantic suite, or maybe Oscar Isaac ain't Omar Sharif and Charlotte Le Bon ain't Julie Christie. So the filmmaker, Terry George, who did this film, he basically directed and co-wrote it, has won an Oscar for a short movie and was nominated for co-writing the scripts to Hotel Rwanda and In the Name of the Father, again, raising my expectations. And despite his best intentions and his skills, he probably shouldn't expect any awards for The Promise. And by the way, the fine cast also includes Shura Egdashlu from The Expanse and Angela Sarafian from Westwood, and those shows are much more worth your time than The Promise. A Disney nature documentary also opens today and starts running this weekend, and it's apparently, panda-centric. It's called Born in China. I think it's getting pretty good reviews, but I did not catch it, and they never showed us Phoenix Forgotten, which is a movie, I think, about alien abductions with nobody of any fame or import. Also opening wider, and you didn't like this film, but I don't know, on Rotten Tomatoes, 88%, The Lost City of Z. We talked about it last week, and the reviewers, including me, very much liked it, but your mileage may vary. Let's wrap up just by saying that Teen Titans: The Judas Contract, the latest animated DC direct-to-video effort, was just released on Blu-ray, and I thought it was very well executed, even though it had a big, epic story to live up to. The Judas Contract is a pretty famous comic book story that ran over about a year and a half in the comic books in the 80s, and it's all about the Teen Titans, Robin and Green Arrow's sidekick Speedy. Those guys are all involved in it, the Flash and what have you, and they're kind of betrayed. And it's solid work, and I got a kick out of it. Directed by Sam Liu. What do you have? Have you watched any video, or did you go out to the movies this week?
No, not really. No. I mean, there were no movies we wanted to see, but Television, just so people know, Fargo started, and also, let me see here. That's about it, actually. Fargo, and there was one other thing I was thinking of, and I can't remember it now.
Did you watch the Fargo episode? And if so, what did you think?
No, I didn't watch it yet. No. So I can't.
The Expanse, aforementioned, wrapped up its second series. I'm looking forward to the third. Best hard sci-fi on television. I'm a fan. What can I tell you?
Yeah,
by the way,
yeah, Doctor Who's back on, but who cares?
Oh, no. Let me tell you, if you didn't watch the first episode of the new season of Doctor Who, which is the last with Peter Capaldi and with Stephen Moffat in charge, it was very, very good and very promising. And again, you may have gotten off, the regular watching.
Let me put it this way: my friend Shecky and I both commented that we didn't even know it was coming back until we saw that it was on. That's how much we care about Doctor Who these days.
Well, this was a very good episode, and Pearl Mackie, newly introduced as the companion, was a revelation. Never done TV or film before, incredibly charming and charismatic, and the comedic actor Matt Lucas is also on board for the entire season. I recommend it, and again, you may already be off of that.
Well, I'm not. It's not one of my must-see stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to say quickly, Miguel Ferrer died recently, the character actor. He's going to be in the Twin Peaks revival, I believe, and he also voices the villain Deathstroke. It's his last work, actually, in the Judas Contract. He did it, I believe, after doing the Twin Peaks revival. But anyway, we'll miss him. He was a terrific character actor, and there you go. That's it.
Okay, well, that's it for the movies, I guess. And we'll tell them where they can find you.
On Twitter, I'm at Culture Blaster. On Facebook, it's Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page. Check in and like it, and hopefully we'll have more excitement next week when we return.
Well, see you next week then, Michael. And in the meantime, everybody else stay right here because there's more GABNet coming right up.